I don't know.
A little, but okay.
I would not do very well on RuPaul's Drag Race.
What's your drag name be, Reuben?
What would my drag name be?
Hottie Wow.
Think about it. All right.
I'll think about it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Ho, ho, ho.
Reuben Bressler.
That would be my drag name. Would be Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Mrs. Ho.
I'd be Mrs. Claus.
That's
and
right.
it'd be spelled with the claws like this.
So,
way to start the day is that little exchange right there.
That's where we're at. It's been a fun week in the MTG community for goods and bads.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting stuff. We're going to get started here as we do each week with our giveaway. And this week, because we all ran out of ideas, I'm giving away a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com.
Look,
So
there's nothing I want to receive more for Christmas than cash I can spend on my own presents.
There you go.
That's what we're giving away this week.
that's right.
Yeah.
You can give it to buy yourself something nice, get something for your friend, get something for your kid. Do what you got to do. $50.
Absolutely.
CoolStuffInc.com. I'll put the link into Twitch chat. I don't think it works in. I don't think it works in YouTube. I'm getting reports that YouTube is not live. Is that correct?
Oh dear. No, it looks like it's live. I see it. I mean, I can see it.
All right. Well, looks like we're good. So either way, so Reuben will link eyes it so it actually works.
Link eyes it.
That's
Looks
right.
like it worked on YouTube. Nope, it did not. Never mind.
They killed
I'm a
it.
big old stupid. Okay.
So our first pick for this week was something that was announced earlier, super excited to announce that both Reuben and I, in real life, are going to be at the Rivals of Ixalan pre-release. Pre-release.
Pre-release.
The pre-release that's going to be streamed from Loading Ready Run. I get to go to Canada. I've never even been to America's Hat before. I'm really excited about it.
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
America's Attic. It's a little dusty, but it's like nice and cool, and you find some cool stuff up there. Where you can find cool stuff in stock. I'm excited. I think it's delightful that that Evan and I will be joined by Melissa DeTora and Chris Van Meter.
Yeah.
We're the four guests, and it will be joined by the usual cast up there of Loading Ready Run up there at the Moon Base. I'm very excited. This is my first time really being invited to do anything like this. I'm usually in my own little chamber, really, or I'm joined by two of my friends. You know what I mean? Like here on this show, or in Contention, or the Newsening. It's usually a little self-contained business, but I'm very excited that I get to bask in the warmth and wonderfulness of the Loading Ready Run crew and learn from them, and sort of just be around them, and I think that's going to be delightful.
I am super excited. I can't. I've every time I've gone to the Northwest, it's just been like this magical area.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous up there. I love
the
the
Pacific
weather.
Northwest,
Oh man,
aka the Pinwheel, as I like to call it sometimes, PNW, is a magical place of rain. And for some reason, everyone loves it there. But
and every time I went twice now up to Seattle, and every time was this like freaky. It didn't rain for the entire time I was there, both times. So everyone's like, "It was so rainy." I'm like, "It was this one time, like during the afternoon, and then it stopped, and I never saw rain again." So.
We'll be going in January, so I imagine it will be pretty cold. It's going to be in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I gotta pack.
2 weeks from Friday, we're going to be flying up on the Wednesday, which means we're going to have to figure out something to do about Magic Mics on that not Wednesday.
Well, we'll both be there in the Moon Base, where I assume they have computers. So hopefully we can stream from there, maybe? Or maybe we just have to take a week off? Because, I don't know.
I don't know,
man.
Well,
Boy, it must be nice.
Look, you already said that you were going to go to be in charge of all the stuff.
So just to be clear, because I'm sure there are some shady queens watching this show, they'll be like, "She didn't get invited." No, I got invited. We all got invited. But as part
Aaron
of my
has
job,
a job to do.
as part of community manager, there are certain events for Card Hoarder that I have to be at. And so my hotel was booked for Santa Clara. It's the same weekend as Santa Clara. My plane was booked. My hotel is booked. And it's also a team event. It's the first GP of the new year. It's very important that the team is there and that I am there. And so I was invited, but I had to say no, as I had to work. And there will be other pre-releases. We're this close to going back to Ravnica, so holla at me for a Ravnica pre-release. That's fine. But yeah, I do have to work, and so I will be in sunny California while you guys are kikiing with Melissa DeTora.
Rainy British Columbia. But we'll all be. We have a replacement ginger in Chris Van Meter of Internet fame. Perhaps you've heard of him.
I love it.
Which is delightful, and of course the only woman to top 8 a Pro Tour, who's now a member of Magic the Gathering R&D, Melissa DeTora.
Who's really funny. I think
a
a lot of people don't realize that. She's very quiet.
Super dry humor.
Right, her humor's very dry, but like if you can get it out of her, she's got some zingers. Like she's a lot of fun to be around, and I hope that you guys can coax that out of her.
I will try my best to be entertaining on camera. No promises though.
It's tough, buddy. It's tough.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I'm getting there. I'm taking some classes, learning about comedy, doing my best. But yeah, well, clearly they're inviting me for my insights and good looks is what they're inviting me for.
I'm excited for you because I know that you and I have joked about the fact that I've done such things, and I really want you to do this, and I'm so happy for you both. And this is huge exposure for the show. This is huge exposure for you as individuals.
Absolutely, yeah.
Milk it for all it's worth. It's so rare and so fun.
So yeah, that'll be the weekend of the 6th, the Saturday the 6th. I think is when it goes live. Maybe the 5th, there will be some stuff up as well. So the 6th and the 7th will be the pre-release on the Loading Ready Run channel, wherever you get your Loading Ready Run videos and products and etc.
Do you know which members?
I don't know which members off the top of my head.
Feel free to say hi to Adam for me.
Probably, I assume Kathleen will be playing.
Kathleen, Graham, I'm expecting.
Cameron's, the most recent Loading Ready Run Friday Nights video that was like the Ghosts of Cameron's Past were just so funny.
I'm a big fan of Adam.
Delightful. Yeah.
And Reuben, you get to do your Mark Rosewater impression.
Yeah.
I do. Will Mark Rosewater be there?
Did you watch? No, but did you watch?
I'll be there. Will there be another Mark Rosewater?
Did you watch the 25-year video that was going around today when Morrow was? Yeah, Morrow was part of that.
I'll work on my impression with that.
It was super good. But yeah, so we get to go do one of, I think one of the coolest things to do in the Magic community is that pre-release was really sweet.
Yeah.
And Reuben finally gets to do something.
Yes!
I'm part of the community now.
Yeah, look at Rubes.
They like me. They really like me. Thank you so much. It only took me 10 years. So if you don't really work that hard and depend on other people to make shows for you, it'll only take you 10 years.
Where's the lie? This guy in the pre-show didn't even know we're not even do that. We're not even at an announcement.
We're not even do that yet. I will
look,
take Reuben and I will drag
man.
him. I will drag him into the community and I'll say, look at him. You see how funny this is?
My entire career is based on Evan saying, look at this person and how hilarious he is, and everyone else going, that's not what I like. And then me going, but really, just try it. And then some people being like, all right, I'll give that a shot a little bit.
Oh, man.
Drag you in, and I'll say, it's plenty. Now, all right, so.
Next announcement.
Next announcement, which is always great, is that Wizards has deemed us a preview card to Rivals of Ixalan.
Yes, we have a preview card, which I definitely knew about and totally remembered that we had a preview card. It is also from the next set, which is called Rivals of Ixalan.
And let me just say, I took one look at this card, and I am more torn than Natalie Imbruglia. The first paragraph is everything I want in life. It is unmistakably Aaron Campbell.
That was an incredible reference.
The second paragraph is everything I don't want in life. I don't know how to feel about this card, and maybe you all can tell me how to feel, because every time I look at it, I'm just torn.
Yeah, I'm very torn by this video.
She's a lot of faith.
You will be too.
This is how she feels.
When I learned that wasn't an original song by Natalie Imbruglia, but instead a remake of some British band or something, I was very shaken by that. But in any case, this card is great, and you guys can tune in and get our Rivals of Ixalan preview card that first week of January, right?
January 3rd. Yes, it's going to be awesome.
Excellent. So our next regular episode because next week, of course, is hashtag the Magic Micsies or hashtag Magic Micsies.
Hashtag Magic Micsies.
Next week, we're not doing a regular show. Everybody's taking the week off for the holiday season at Wizards of the Coast, and we're going to be giving away our yearly awards. And then the first week that follows, we'll be previewing our preview card.
Did Wizards troll us again? Well, we'll see.
It's hard to tell. Last year at this time, we got Treasure Keeper, and it didn't end up as good as we thought. If you go back and watch that video and see us talking about it like it's Bloodbraid Elf, it didn't pan out that way.
It's Bloodbraid Elf 2.0. Oh my god!
We didn't quite hit the nail on the head with Trapper Keeper, but this one is decent, and I think you guys will appreciate it.
Well, I think we also had named Frontier like Format of the Year, which I think
we did, which it was last year.
Yeah.
And that ain't a thing no more. So
don't talk about that flash was so bright in the pan. It was just like, pow! You're like,
hit wonders.
Whoa! It's in Japanese GPs, and it's like it's all over Europe.
Frontier was the Natalie Imbruglia of Magic.
See, there you go.
Back around.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, no one remembers it, and no one really cares anymore. So there you go. Yeah. So Frontier being the format of the year is a little awkward. And we'll talk about the Magic Micsies here in a little bit. Yeah. But we got to keep moving here because obviously there's preview cards. Well, Aaron Forsyth gave us a preview card over this past week and also unveiled one of the main mechanics in Rivals of Ixalan. And that would be Vona's Hunger is the name of the card. A black and 2 generic mana for a rare instant that has Ascend. Ascend is a mechanic that says if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. Each opponent then sacrifices a creature. If you have the City's Blessing, instead, each opponent sacrifices half the creatures he or she controls, rounded up. That's very powerful. Now, I will note that the Ascend thing happens upon resolution, and then it's kind of like a permanent threshold forever. Like, once you get the City's Blessing, it's yours, it's there, it triggers. Okay, great.
Well,
so it's not like Monarch.
Right, I was just going to ask, can I take Ascend, can I take the City's Blessing, can multiple people have the City's Blessing at the same time?
The way that I read it is that
there can only be one Monarch.
Well, you're right, but this to me seems, yes, you can get the City's Blessing, and your opponent can get the City's Blessing. If you resolve it, you get it for the rest of the game. That's what it says right there. So we'll see if that changes. We'll see if they do something about it. I don't know. But we've seen City's Blessing the card, and it's just City's Blessing.
It's just a token that sits in play, like the Monarch, but it
doesn't give it an ability.
Doesn't give you the drawing a card thing at the beginning.
It also doesn't have a grammar mistake on it either.
Right. See, there we go.
Oh, with the Diet Coke, y'all.
With the Diet Coke sip with the Santa hat is a great screenshot, and that should definitely be your new Twitter photo. In any case, I'm not sure how to feel about Ascend. I'm assuming that Ascend isn't. So here's my thing. I don't know if Ascend is going to be all if you control 10 permanents, or if there are going to be different thresholds to meet. Because, like, Threshold is like, if you have 7 cards in your graveyard, you have Threshold, right? If Ascend is, if you have 10 or more permanents, then you get the City's Blessing.
Well,
or is it going to be if you control 4 or more creatures, or if you control 20 or more power?
Is the Ascend goal going to be the same?
Yeah, is Ascend always going to give you the City's Blessing and always going to be 10 or more permanents? Or is it going to be always gives you the City's Blessing, but have different ways that you can get the City's Blessing?
I believe it's just the 10 permanents, and here's why. Because if you have a mechanic that differs in number, they put the number before the reminder text. It would be Ascend 10, or instead of, or Ascend 2 green and 2 generic mana or something.
Ascend libraries. Yeah, or it would be more like Landfall, where it would be like Landfall dash when a land enters the battlefield, etc. So this would be like Ascend dash and not be reminder text in italics. It would be, in that case, I'm not sure I like this ability. I think this is a pretty, I'm not sure I like this ability, and I'm not really sure why. I think that this lends itself to stalled board states and token decks and doesn't give, control decks and aggro decks as much play. Does that make sense?
You really don't think control decks would take advantage of something that wants you to have 10 permanents?
This card definitely would go in control decks. This card is
good.
Fabulous. I mean, instant speed sacrifice has proven itself to be a valuable asset to Esper Dragons in the past and just various control decks in the forms of like Foul Invocation. But it's like I just don't know about this ability, man. I'm gonna need to see more.
Well, we're also, I mean, treasure tokens are still a thing. You know, those do count as permanents. And, you know, I think it depends on, it's going to need to find the right home. But I mean, lands are obviously permanents. I think, you know, the treasure tokens are permanents. I think there's potential here.
Whirler Virtuoso makes a bunch of permanents. Finally, a payoff for energy.
Oh, man. We were waiting on that one.
Thank goodness. I can't believe it took so long. But seriously, I don't know how to judge this. This card is great. The card, very clearly, Vona's Hunger is great and is an excellent preview card. The ability Ascend, I'm going to reserve judgment on because I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm leaning towards not liking it at this point.
Well, it's a little bit swingy, so there's a little bit of variance there. However, the core ability is good. It is instant speed. It is sacrifice, so it gets around hexproof, whatever. And when you get that blessing, it's pretty fantastic.
It gets
pretty great in EDH.
For 3 mana?
You'll have no problem.
Each opponent? Jeez.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah. So it's really cool in a lot of different ways. So Vona's Hunger is coming. That's sweet. What is not coming any longer are the dual decks. And Reuben and I have been riding the stuff versus things joke for it's about 7 years or so.
A long time. It's been a while for both of us to have the stuff versus things, stuffy doll versus thing in the deep. Before Thing in the Ice was even a possibility.
It's true.
Which would definitely be a shoe-in in the Thing deck.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a ton of stuff to put in the stuff deck, so I guess we just got to give up the ghost on that. But yeah, dual decks going away was not something I was anticipating happening. I always thought they were super popular. Before the show started, we looked up the price of Elves versus Goblins, which I think was the first one.
Yep.
They're $150 when you don't have them opened. So if you got them in the back of your closet, you got a nice crisp $150 bill. I was super confused by dual decks going away. I thought they were super popular.
Well, remember, Storm showed up in Walmart, okay?
Was that dual decks?
Which I think is fine.
Yeah,
that's
not
fine.
great.
Mine versus Might. There you go.
Oh yeah, Mine versus Might was bad, but
it was bad.
Most of them were good, right?
A lot of them were very good. Now, and the way I put it is, and when I wrote about it on Twitter, you know, they have had more wins than losses, more successes than failures, but like right there at the end, it started getting a little, and then Storm showed up at Walmart, and
Braves versus Brawn was not a very smart idea for them to put into the Storm mechanic.
Oh, I see what you did there. Brains versus Brawn, smart idea. That's
wow. So what they did is they decided that they are going to replace them with something called challenge decks.
Now, before you move on, apparently this is not a replacement. These are two separate incidents. That these are ships passing in the night, and they're going after different players with the different decks. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. The truth is out there, whatever. But that's what they said. They said that dual decks they're sunsetting dual decks, and these new whatever these are decks, challenger decks, are not replacing them directly, but they are replacing them indirectly.
Well, it sounds like the challenger decks are meant to be a ramp to standard, to where you can essentially crack these things open. They're going to be 75 card decks with 60 cards main decks, 60 card main decks and 15 card sideboards, and they're meant to be playable and competitive at the local level right out of the box, which kind of reminds me of a while back they had that modern deck, that intro deck that was the black-white tokens, which I really liked. I thought that was really great, and I know a couple people who had sort of used that as their way to get into modern. And you know, it's interesting that they would choose standard. I mean, on the one hand, standard is still people still have a lot of negative feelings about standard right now, which we'll talk about a little later. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't continue that series. Like, I don't know if they said they were going to be releasing more of that modern product, but I was really surprised that they just released the one deck. And I'm particularly surprised that now that modern is so hot, that their response is, well, let's release a standard deck. And it's like, well, but modern's where it's at right now. Like, why would you not build off of that original product line? But maybe that's why they're doing standard, is they want to get more people into that format. But I love the idea of this kind of deck. I think it's really great. You know, being able to afford cards is still very much a barrier for a lot of people. And if you can give somebody a means to be reasonably competitive, even if it's just at the local level for a lower cost, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and they're pretty cheap. So
yeah,
these should be pretty popular right out the get-go. Also, as Gavin Verhey says at the bottom here, that because of the way that they're designing the challenger decks, they can bring them much closer to release.
The new play design team, yeah.
Yes, thanks to, I would think, especially thanks to the new play design team, but also thanks to how they're releasing the product. They're changing up, and so they're able to get cards in your hands much quicker, and so they're able to do this instead of just with Modern, with Standard, with these challenger decks. So I'm very excited to see what these look like. I am a little sad, I gotta say, that they are definitely replacing our dual decks, and we will never see stuff versus things happen.
Well, I mean, and ultimately, yes, they can say they're not related, and that's totally cool, but like, you know, we're humans, and we're going to see event A and event B and go, oh, you spent money on thing A, and now you're spending money on thing B. Like, it's kind of how it works. But ultimately, this definitely feels like we're getting event decks 2.0 here. And
sure.
They don't use the E word. They don't use the event word anywhere. But they say, you know, 4 into 75 card decks that will have at least 2 mythic rares. And it'll be standard and standard legal. It'll have holding a box capable of holding 75 sleeves, the spin down, the reference guide, which is cool. But it's just one of those things. It's like, you know, the decks are intended to be very strong and feature many rares as well as at least 2 mythic rares. At some point, you know, you can't run, you know, you can't give them 4 Gideons or whatever in the previous standard formats. You can't give them 4 Chandras. Maybe you could give them 2 Chandras, but then how many Glory Bringers do you get to give them? I mean, stuff like that. There's going to be this push and pull, and if they're supposed to be super competitive, how competitive is competitive? How competitive is $30 supposed to be?
Right.
I don't know.
So, you know, I mean, and you can't just make them all Ramunap red, right?
Yeah.
Like, not every challenger deck can be a mono red or a mono white aggro.
Right.
They're going to have to try to do something different, and unfortunately, it's really tough in the way that the game is developed to have 3 or 4 color decks available at a $30 price point. It's just not possible because the lands are all rare. And a lot of the reason that the lands are all rare is because you're putting 7 of the best mythics in a deck together. So it's just going to be a problem going forward to have event decks or challenger decks or modern event decks that are competitive. And so this is just an endless problem that they have. I'm excited to see what the play design team can do, and Gavin Verhey et al. Can put on the table in front of us that will be fun and competitive. But we'll see. I'm reserving cautious optimism.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen, okay? They're going to release these decks, and one is going to be clearly the best. Something has to be the best, something has to be the worst. It's going to have cards in it that are way more expensive than $30, you know, in total. So that deck is going to be $40 or $50. So now you have a price point of, well, you can get started for $50 or you can get started for like $25 because there's one deck that's like really kind of poopy. And so they're going to bust them up for singles, and they're going to see how much value there is, and whichever one has the most value is the one that's going to kind of be hoarded, and people can go to Walmart, they're going to try to buy all that type. It's sort of a Commander-esque feeling all over again. That deck's going to be very expensive as the years go on. I mean, we've seen products like this before, is all I'm saying. This feels very much like Event Decks, which was a fairly colossal failure.
I agree, but it's like, you know, some people brought event decks to FNM, and, you know, you can do that. You can bring these to game day, or I could, you know, I don't really own that many Magic cards anymore, right? I would borrow cards from my friends or borrow decks from my friends, but sometimes I don't give my friends enough, you know, hours before I go to an event, and I'm like, crap, I don't have an event, or I don't have an event deck to play in this event. There's a challenger deck on the shelf. I'll give that a shot. You know, just as like kind of a thing that's fun for me to do, or as a new player that you don't have the foundation of other friends to borrow good cards from. You know, there are other reasons to buy these event decks.
Well, it's interesting actually that comes up because I recently hired a new graphic designer, and he's great, but all he does is D&D. He's like the D&D, he's all D&D all the time, and he's like, oh, I want to get into Magic, and he's like, how do I start?
Man, and all D&D all the time.
Well, and then he says, I want to get into Magic. Where do I start? And I'm just like, well, if you don't have a deck,
when I was 15.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm telling a spirit story. But no, and I was just like, well, you know, more than likely, your best, you know, one of the best thing you can do is draft. You can pick color or an archetype, go. It teaches you about deck building. You'll have opponents. You'll have a little bit of competition in there. And I told him, if you don't like that, that's fine, because I'm the competitive guy. But you know, that's a way to build your collection, and you know, you get that awesome, like, oh, I opened a foil whatever, so it's worth a bunch of money, yada yada, versus just buying a box and just opening a box and hoping that good things happen. Right. But if these decks were to exist, this is the product that I would tell him to get and purchase and play in F&M as a way to get into Magic. So there is a niche, I think, for this thing, but the execution is everything, as with most things in life.
Sure.
And we're in to gather the townsfolk, because I'm good at changing slides. All right, so whatever.
He says execution is everything.
I know, right? And then right into the ditch. Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about no standard standalone opens in the first half of 2018?
Yeah, so speaking of standard and people's feelings about it, Cedric Phillips had made an announcement today that the first half of the SCG Tour, the schedule for those opens had been released. And so we know what the first 6 months of the year are going to look like in terms of what opens are available and what formats are going to be. And there were 2 opens, SCG Dallas in January and SCG Atlanta in April, that were the only standard opens. They had a standard main event. Cedric announced that today those 2 have been converted to team constructed, which is where 3 people play standard, modern, and legacy. And so for the first half of this year, there are no standard opens. You can play standard as part of a team, but they're all either modern or even legacy. There are literally more legacy opens in the first half of the year than there are standard opens. I don't think this has ever happened before. Like, this is a really big deal. You know, we see a lot of people on social media say how unhappy they are with standard, but it's obvious that the attendance isn't there. And so SCG is going, well, team constructeds are a big hit. This is probably the direction they're going in. But to have no standard opens for the first 6 months of the year, I think is really noteworthy. And I think that's a really big indicator of how people feel about standard. And yeah, I just had never seen anything like this before.
It's kind of insane. I was really surprised when I read it, so much that I thought it was a typo when I first saw no standard opens. I thought they were like, surely they mean no modern opens or fewer standard opens, but there's none. And it goes along with the shift that SCG has been headed towards, in that they're no longer a direct competitor of the Grand Prix in any way, shape, or form. They're going after modern. I mean,
there are 6 modern opens. 6 modern opens in the first 6 months of the year.
And the team events.
There is 5 team constructed opens.
Wow.
And 1 legacy open.
Well, that's great. I mean, I love that they're taking advantage of these older formats, the popularity, and you can't blame them. I mean, standard was so bad for so long, you can't blame them for it. It's just surprising that they're completely moving away from standard, especially considering the fact that, I mean, when you talk to pro players, particularly folks who are playing on the SCG Tour regularly, standard's their bread and butter. Like, that's where they get the paychecks from, really, because, you know, that's just what traditionally has happened. So, you know, it's definitely surprising to see. On the one hand, but the more I think about it, the more I'm not particularly surprised, I guess, that they're headed in this direction.
You know who shows up to events?
Who's that?
Modern players.
Modern players, sure. I mean, do as many modern players show up to events?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Modern,
then sure, by all means.
Modern has a history of selling out consistently, booking events. I just wonder what it's going to take, because we've been going through this. I mean, we banned Reflector Mage, we banned Emrakul, we banned Marvel. We did all these things that were supposed to fix things. They're supposed to be a step towards fixing things. Right. Rotation happens. Again, there's this feeling of this is going to be the thing. This is going to, and now we're here again. And there's more talk of energy being broken. There are people that are so desperate, they're saying we should ban Attune the Ether. This 1 mana appears to be an innocuous ram spell. You know, I just don't know what it's going to take, because it feels like we've done so much to try to fix this, and we're still here. We're still here where people are hating standard, and I don't know if it's going to take another, God forbid, another banning or maybe another rotation. But I don't like hating a format. I would love to play standard. I would love to have a reason to play standard. I just haven't found any decks that really excite me, and I don't want that to be the case. And most of the people I know who are critical of standard, it does come from a place of, I really want to like this. They're not just being mean to be mean. They're like, I just can't get it up. I've tried, you know, and I just hope that something comes down the pipe soon, because this is years now where people are not feeling it.
I mean, standard is decent. It's just that it left such a bad taste in people's mouth for so long that this wasn't because of the last 3 months. This was because of the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's very, you know, they wouldn't make the entire first half of the year this way.
Yeah.
So not by accident. All right. Yeah. So that's a thing. And we're gonna move on here to some judge promos, because judge promos are fun. Yay!
Yes.
Which is great. And they were revealed today on Twitter. And the first one we have here is Pendelhaven. Pendelhaven is a super cool card back from Legends, if I recall correctly. I think that's
originally right. Legends.
Originally Legends, and then it was back in Time Spiral, and then it shows up here. And it's a definitely an EDH staple. A lot of people like it. They they'll pump up their Land of War Elves or whatever against the Pyroclasms to give their creatures +1/+2. For those who don't know, Pendelhaven is a legendary land that taps for a green mana, or it taps to have target 1/1 creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn. So good old-fashioned Pendelhaven, along with Spellskite, with amazing artwork.
Beautiful.
Like, unbelievably sweet.
Pretty great, yeah.
This thing's going to be worth a heck of a penny, let me tell you. Spellskite is a 2 generic mana artifact creature horror. It's an 0/4 with a blue Phyrexian mana : and you know all good things start with Phyrexian mana something.
Yeah.
Blue Phyrexian mana : change a target spell or ability to Spellskite. And of course, blue Phyrexian mana can be paid with either 1 blue or 2 life. And Spellskite is an incredible creature in Modern. Not only is it very powerful, it's very popular, and something as pretty as this. Ooh, this one's going to be really expensive.
That Svetlin Velinov artwork was previously only available on Magic Online.
Nice.
Spellskite, one of the most ubiquitous cards. By the way, if you're playing Magic Mike's bingo, you can check off your ubiquitous box. One of the most ubiquitous cards. One of the most ubiquitous cards in Modern. Probably the most played creature in Modern, I'm guessing, at least between all main decks and sideboards. And Pendelhaven making the shift from F&M promo to Judge promo, which I think is adorable. Pendelhaven getting second life after Infect became a thing. Previously only pumping up your generic 1/1s into 2/3s, now pumping up your 1/1s into 4/3s.
Yeah.
If they're unblockable, like Blighted Agent. So yeah, these are both really exciting, really interesting cards. Obviously, Spellskite being the headliner, these promos are going to probably crack triple digits at least at the start. So.
Oh man, and the Pendelhaven. If you look at the F&M foil for Pendelhaven, that is a big dark card. It's very dark. It's very shadows. There's a few little orange lights, and it's just darkness. And it's supposed to be a foil card, so it's just like a dark foil card.
They did something weird with a bunch of the F&M promos where they were like, we really want interesting, weird, like really stark art on a lot of the F&M promos because they really liked their F&M lighting and their F&M foiling process.
Right.
So the F&M box itself is really, it does not scan well.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of how I felt when I first started watching the Daredevil series on Netflix when they tried beating me over the head where it's like, it's dark, the show's dark, he's dark, the setting's dark, and it's I get it.
You're definitely not wrong about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who are looking for it, I have tweeted out the link both on the Magic Mike's Cast Twitter account and my own for those who are looking for it, because I saw some people were. But that said, yeah, so either way, judge promos are awesome, and there are ways to reward judges, and they're changing how they give them or something. I'm not exactly sure.
I'm going to have to... I would have to. We need to get Pharmacist Judge to figure that one out. One of our mods in the Twitch channel to tell us how they're actually changing the Judge promos and how they're given out, because they're like at random or something. I don't know. Like
I heard something that simply. So from what I understand, and I'm probably wrong about this, but from my understanding, the way it is right now is anybody who got the nominations got the promos, regardless of how many you got or how good they were or whatever. And I'm under the impression that that's going to be changing. That simply getting a nomination does not equal you get promos. There's going to be some additional hurdles there, and feel free to correct me on that. But
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that sounds right.
That's as I understand it.
Okay.
The exemplar program wasn't supposed to sort of guarantee foils. Only some will get them instead of feeling like you're guaranteed it. You're not guaranteed it. Okay. Sure.
That doesn't make me feel better about everything.
No,
Look,
not at all.
The cards are great. Pendelhaven and Spellskite, I think, are excellent choices for the foil promo process. I would not be unhappy to receive either. Pendelhaven's a bit of a weird one, but I would not be unhappy in the way that I'm unhappy when I receive a foil Progenitus at a Grand Prix. Right?
Shade.
Wow.
It's like not even shade. I'm overtly telling them that was a bad choice.
That's a read. We were talking about reading earlier.
Oh,
you didn't know
okay.
what a read was. That's a read.
That's a read?
That's
okay.
a read.
I've read you, Progenitus.
Hey.
Shake my head side to side. Snaps in a Z-shaped pattern. Did I do it right?
You're doing fine. All right.
Okay.
So our good friend Rudy from Alpha Investments, super cool guy. I think his videos are super fun. I think this guy has charisma out the wazoo, and he knows how to use it. And it's awesome to see him have such success, which is great. But he made a video, and I couldn't not bring this up because it cracks me up so much. He is under the impression that because there was a packing slip of some sort from Cardamundi left on a pallet of product in Miami, that suddenly he knows the exact print run of Explorers of Ixalan.
Bless his heart.
I mean, come on. So he thinks that they only made 37,440 sets. Okay, I want you to think about something, okay? I want you to think that there's 6,000 Walmarts, okay? And how many of those got copies of Explorers of Ixalan? Just give me that. Just give me, like, give me 4 or 5 copies of pop, and all of a sudden we're looking at this number beyond, of course, things like international sales, beyond things like, what go to the hobby shops, where this product goes is not just, and this looks to me, and there were some other people who are doing some kind of math, were saying, like, this sounds about like a double-decker truck worth, like if there were pallets stacked on pallets, or double pallets, or 2 trucks worth of pallets, or something like that, and that would amount to essentially this amount of product. So it is some of the print run, but it's not all of the print run. It just cracks me up. Rudy, you're great, but this is silly.
He goes full Pepe Sylvia from Always Sunny in Philadelphia in this particular video. His hair is like more wild than mine is. He just goes nuts in this video.
Full
it's
Doc
very
Brown.
entertaining. I highly recommend this video. It is a very entertaining video. Do not learn anything from this video. Because this is like the room of Rudy's opus, right?
Rudy
it's so crazy and off the wall that it's great.
I heard that he's to blame for Bazaar of Baghdad spiking. When I came back to Twitter the other day, MTG Pack Foils, the first thing he said to me was, "Did you hear what happened to Bazaars?" And I was like, "No, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're worth a ton now." And Cool Stuff Inc. was selling them for $750 to $800, I believe. Star City wanted $1,000 for their Bazaar for the one or two that they had, and TCG Player only had them at $1,400. And I guess Rudy made a video where he was like, "Yeah, you could buy them all now or not because I did. Bye." And so now they're all really expensive again. And
highly recommend Alpha Investments. Highly recommend Rudy. Highly do not recommend whatever coffee he drank to get up the energy for the 10 minutes and 30-second video that he's on and the packing slips that he found. This is a delightful video.
From what I would consider, one showman to another. He does a fine job.
So spell me out exactly what. So Rudy thinks he's found something. Tell me why he hasn't found something here. What is give me the Cliff's Notes.
Cardamundi every once in a while forgets to remove the packing slip from the pallet.
Okay.
And so they got a hold of it.
So the Cardamundi packing slip thing happens occasionally?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just he did some math and thought that this was like the end all be all of the print run, and it's like that's not how any of this works. So
okay, makes sense.
But more power to him, and it was certainly super entertaining. I just couldn't not comment on it because wow. Yeah. All right, so Aaron, for someone who has to deal with team things and team stuff, tell us about a team roster change on MGG and BCW.
Yeah, so there were a couple of shakeups this past week. The most notable was with Team MGG, who used to feature Jim Davis and Travis Wu and people like that. They announced their 2018 roster, which actually does not feature Jim Davis. So the roster, they're still going to have a sun and a moon. And on the sun side, if I'm understanding the graphic correctly, we have Ben Friedman, Jerry Thompson, Josh Cho, Matt Severa, Wisconsin's own, hey, Andre Strosky, little international flavor here, Oliver too.
Nice.
And on the moon side, we have Shahar Shenhar, yes! Jacob Wilson, who we love, Nathan Smith, John Rolfe, Brandon Ayers, and Matteo Rizzi from Italy, I presume. And then in the middle, we have Andrew Jessup, Frank Scarron, Dan Jessup, Peter Ingram, and Brad Carpenter. And Jim Davis was the notable omission here. He was probably one of their biggest faces. He was the one that I tended to see more often than not, repping MGG. And Jim announced that he was stepping away from the team because he was helping to form a new team called Team BCW, which is also a brand of binders and sleeves. There's quite a few suppliers out there is getting into the team game, apparently. And this team is made up of Jim Davis, Todd Stevens, Ross Merriam, Brendan DeCandio, and the Tannen Grace.
Not one of the several.
Reuben made me say that. I wasn't
Tannen Grace.
Okay, yeah. So those 5 gentlemen have formed their own team now, Team BCW. And I think this is great. I think there's a lot of star power among both these teams. I appreciate the professional approach, like the way they did the announcements. I appreciate the way that they plug their people. Their photos look great. I'm here for all of this. And I think this is nifty. I'm all about the professionalism here.
Wait, so are there 2 teams or 3 teams?
So right, Team MGG is made up of, it's like an umbrella. There's Team Sun, there's Team Moon, and then there's the team that I feel like does more of the GPs and the opens. And then Team BCW is just one team.
Yeah. So BCW, I think, is going to be an open series focused team as well. Okay. And then the center column of MGG, Metagame Gurus, is also going to be mostly the Star City Games circuit. I believe Sun and Moon are
Pro Tour
player teams that are Pro Tour teams, which is exemplified by, Shahar and Jacob highlighting the Moon side of things. They're not going to be going to SCG Opens.
Yeah, and Card Hoarder is the same way, and that's sort of what makes the team series so. So one of the problems with the team series is you have to have at least 6 people who qualify for your team, and so it's necessary to have these sort of flex slots to where if God forbid your core 6 don't qualify, they can certainly fill the void or whatever. And so this is how it is right now, and I love seeing all these names come up, and I think they're all great guys, and it's just neat to see. We talk about Magic becoming an esport, and we see how esports really holds on to that team mentality and the way they treat their teams, and it's nice to see Magic starting to embrace that as well. So
and it's interesting, certainly, I think, because Jim Davis began Team MGG, right?
Yeah, he was one of their original members.
Yeah, one of the founders. So moving on there. Speaking of moving on and covering subjects that I don't really enjoy covering, particularly these days. But, again, we're here to talk about the zeitgeist of Magic. We want to make sure that for those who are like, what's going on in the Magic world? Well, this is going on in the Magic world. Breitbart has posted an article, not necessarily front page, not necessarily like at the very top of the big old picture or whatever, but it is on Breitbart, about the Magic Gate, quote unquote, the ugly story of how social justice warriors ruined an innocent collectible card game, full of not a lot of great research, full of a lot of the same lines, if you will. It's incredibly long for reasons that make no real good sense. But at one point, it begins to talk about like hornets putting something in bugs and like taking over them, and then Aaron, all of a sudden, there's the hashtag Hornet Queen going on.
So
we got bees in our name.
So the author in question had tried using a metaphor or an analogy of parasitic wasps, and was basically trying to say that people who don't agree, with Jeremy or with Travis are basically parasitic wasps, and that the way these wasps work is they infect other things with their eggs, and then the eggs explode into more wasps, and it's just a bad scene all around.
I mean, I don't go to Breitbart for my science news, but is that how that works?
Well, it's actually a good thing because they're scavengers, and so they make the most out of these corpses or whatever. Athena Frolic, who we love, heard about this, and she was like, "That sounds really cool." And I was like,
that's so badass.
Like, I totally do that. And so it's kind of like when the Pope goes off about trans folks and says that we're the reason cis folks can't have babies, and he talks about the life force, and I'm like, yeah, sign me up for that. So Athena was like, I want to be a parasitic wasp. And then MTA was like, well, did you know wasps can do this? And we were like a hornet queen. And so we drew the parallels there. And so we decided we were going to co-opt that, and we were going to be the hornet queens. And so going forward, if we see a woman on social media or anywhere say that something good happens to her, we're going to spam her with bees, and it's going to be
that's why you see lots of the bee emojis in your feed. If you follow a lot of us on Twitter, I am currently at MoxRuby. For example, Aaron's name has a bunch of bumblebees up by it.
Hashtag Hornet Queen.
Hashtag Hornet Queen, lots of bee memes. We should probably add hashtag Hornet Queen as the second entry to hashtag of the year entry. Probably a little too late in the year for it to win.
It needs a little time to, to develop.
But we just wanted to have fun with it because I think this is something
it's an honor just to be nominated.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that a lot of people were dreading. I think when you hear the name Breitbart, your stomach kind of sinks a little bit because it does have a bit of a reputation. And so I think when people first heard that this was a thing, they were like, oh no. And so this was a way to sort of inject some humor into it of like, this is something we could really dwell on. This is something we could really find some negatives in, or we can just be like, I want to be a bee.
Bees are BAs, yo.
And just live the dream. And
don't
so that's
trust
kind of
the bee in apartment 20 or queen bee, obviously.
Nerd. Yeah, so we're going to have fun with it.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. So,
but it is important to point out whenever. Sorry to be the dour one again, but I got to bring it back to the Breitbart thing, which for those of you who are unaware is sort of like a right-wing news site, and whenever it hits the mainstream like that, and at this point Breitbart is a mainstream website. We've really got to pay attention to it, and it's sort of caught the ear of another subculture of internet culture. So it is just another thing that's happened in our lives thanks to this most recent upheaval.
Yep, and again, I'm not trying to provide any more publicity than I have to. Right. But moving on here, so Wizards actually posted a statement this past week called A Commitment to Each Other, Building a Community Together, where Chris Cox talks about, his... Aaron, God bless you. Where Chris talks about his history with Magic and what it means, and Magic is inherently social, and, we're diverse and whatnot, and everyone at Wizards, the basis of community, he says, is respect. And I want to repeat that one more time. I'm bringing the camera right on. Basis of community is respect, and sometimes we falter. That's why we apologize and grow, not do weird things and blame the people who are being upset with us. Either way, so he talks a little bit about this, and he notes that you're going to expect to see this hanging in place spaces soon, which is essentially a sign that says a commitment to each other, talking about put fun first. Welcome everyone, respect your play environment, and follow the rules. Now, all this seems to make pretty standard good sense. Okay, cool. One of the things that that was kind of latched onto is like, well, here's where they're gonna attack, this blah blah blah. Is that there's a sentence here under welcome everyone that says no matter who sits down at the table with us, we make them feel welcome. Mm-hmm. You can't necessarily make people feel things. Okay, I get that. But that's the part of the letter of the law versus spirit of the law. Like, some people are going to feel unwelcome no matter what you do, and there's nothing you can do that. I think if there was more of a focus of just like, hey, maybe it's just about respect. It's about a code of conduct, a way of acting. That's cool. That's not necessarily affecting their emotions or whatever. But that's literally the only thing I've seen come sort of out of this that could be construed as negative, because it's just. Can we just have fun with Magic? Is that cool? Can we just not go after each other?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, look, it's easy. And here's this is going to sound so weird coming out of me because I'm another white male who's privileged, but we don't have the same us saying, "Can we just play Magic?" doesn't work. Like us saying it doesn't work. It's got to be from everybody else, right? Like, I can just go play Magic, because I can just go play Magic. Unfortunately, that's just not the case for everybody.
Right.
And so this is a great step in a right direction that I like reading, and I see where his head's at, and I'm happy that Chris Cox is coming out and saying this as a human being, publishing this on Daily MTG, right? That is an interesting thing. When the president and CEO of Wizards of the Coast publishes something on Daily MTG, that's a big deal. The mechanical benefit of what's going to happen as a result of this article, I don't know. I mean, that's really tough to gauge. So, this is another wait and see thing, but again, cautiously optimistic and happy with the step that was taken.
Aaron, where are you at on this? Well, look, I think if there's a step here where Wizards is going to.
So here's how I feel about this, and maybe this might be coming off wrong. Okay, so at GP Atlanta, I had dinner with a young man from Organized Play. Here's some behind-the-scenes tea for y'all. And at one point, he asked me about just sort of the women in Magic and diversity and community and all that stuff. And at one point, he was like, is there anything else we can do? And I was like, I don't think it's up to y'all anymore. I have sort of hammered the point home that this is where you stand. I think we're at the point now, and you hear this a lot in terms of the larger culture and in terms of where we are politically. We're at a point right now where it's up to individuals. A saying I hear a lot of is, I can't teach you empathy. I can't teach you how to care. I think we're at a point now where we can put these signs up. Wizards can't make it any more clearer that this is where they're at. I think we've sort of moved down the totem pole, or we've moved down the ladder to personal responsibility now, where it's like, we get it, Wizards, we get it. But now it's up to people, where it's like, now people have to start caring. People have to start wanting to be better. I think we've reached that point. Is that making any sense?
Yeah, well, like, here's something. I read something that actually made a lot of sense to me. In terms of one of the narratives is that, like, they're going to go after your private life. They're going to go see what you're doing online and punish you for whatever. Right now in our society, in our culture, being online in social media is part of being an adult.
Yep.
And you have to act like an adult.
I can't wait to vote for someone for president who has, like, drunk selfies from college.
It is
going to be great when I'm voting for somebody who has, like, an Instagram that they started in high school.
Right.
That's going to be great.
That's what I'm saying again, is that part of being an adult is that recognizing that this is part of culture. This is part of your life. And if you are to do something online, you're still a person, and that still reflects on you, and that's still something that can happen and affect your life. And it's not thought police, it's you are out in public, on the internet, in public, acting a certain way. And that is going to impact you, whether you like it or not. And recognizing that it's going to impact you is part of growing up, essentially, at this point, in the modern day and age.
Well, it's also not thought police once it leaves your mind. Like, if it never left your mind, if there was some Betazoid authority out there, shout out to the Star Trek fans, who were just going after your thoughts, that might be thought police. But once a thought turns into a word, and that word leaves your lips, it's no longer just a thought anymore, and it essentially becomes fair game. When that thought turns into an action, it's not just a thought anymore, it's an action, and actions have consequences. And so I could see if somebody was going around and reading your thoughts. Like, if I was looking into your mind right now, Evan, and I was like, you want a cheesecake, don't you? Put some handcuffs on that man, he wants a cheesecake. And you're like, I didn't say anything. I don't have a cheesecake. I haven't reached for a cheesecake. It was literally just something I thought. I could see if we were in some nothing, but I'm just, if we were in some Minority Report future, that's literally thought police right there. But once the thoughts turn into words and actions, that could be seen as fair game at that point. And you can't say it's thought police because that thought turned into a word, that thought turned into an action, and at that point, you can be held accountable for that.
I mean, I would say that ultimately, the last bit for me is that if a place is unwelcoming, this sign is not going to change that. But what it is going to do is make it clear that Wizards is not okay with that. And so if in the future, there begins to sort of be, hey, like, I had this experience, I had that experience, well, then Wizards can say, look, this is what we expect out of a store who's able to hold events and promote our products. And if that's not adhered to, then we just won't sell our products there. We won't let you be able to do so. you know, and for those who want to kind of dismiss it, they go, well, this is a children's card game trying to tell me how to act. And it's like, well, and part of it's just like, you know, we have this community that's fostered. Magic is ridiculously huge. Magic pays a lot of people's bills, a whole bunch of them. And you know, and part of it is making sure that we keep what we have. We keep, you know, the positivity that we have in our community and the way it's welcoming. You want to make sure everyone feels welcome and feels safe. And I'm ready to move on because Lord knows we've talked about this enough.
Amen.
Okay. Splash damage, where not necessarily MTG, but kind of MTG related. James Chillcott, who is a sort of MTG finance guy, amongst other things.
We're following each other on Twitter now. I had him blocked for years. Hi, James.
Hey, buddy. What's going on, bro? Yeah, so we cheer to chat quite a bit time to time. And so he notes here that there is a new sort of Twitch add-on that you can have, I guess a plug-in, as it were, that is a advanced Hearthstone overlay. The Innkeeper Interactive Overlay is a new way to engage your viewers while streaming Hearthstone. With the overlay enabled, Innkeeper will display your deck directly on your Twitch stream, giving users the ability to mouse over the cards to view the tooltips, which means they preamp the entire card. Brought to you by hearthpwn.com. So this is a decklist website, essentially, giving this ability for you to have something that adds value to your stream for free. And wouldn't it be amazing if I could see the deck list of whoever I'm watching streaming and just, like, you know, actually see which card does, you know, and hope that, not have to hope that they're going to zoom in for me, not to hope that I can just, they're going to hold on a minute while I take a look at it, but I can just, I mouse over Chandra and that's what Chandra does. That would be amazing. Wizards is not going to put one tiny cent into upgrading the experience of watching Magic Online right now that isn't MTG Arena, in my humble opinion. Just no way. But after MTG Arena is released, and hopefully is very successful, this type of thing would be perfect for the program.
Yeah. I mean, this is a dream come true for viewers at home. I mean, lots of folks use overlays within their streams. Especially in Hearthstone, they have like deck things that keep track of things that are in their own deck and their opponent's deck, and like count the number, which cards have been in which player's hands for how many turns and stuff like that. But to separate the fourth wall, to be able to bring it to your own control on your desktop and hover over the cards you want to hover over and click the cards you want to see that are on the screen, that is really interesting and is something that's possible with the growth of MTG Arena. It can grow alongside it if that's a thing that they want to do. Now, that's the other part, is that this is Hearthstone and their digital footprint against Magic and its online digital footprint, and that's not a competition.
No.
If MTG Arena changes that, we'll see. But this is really interesting technology, that's for sure.
And this is where we get to bring up hashtag That Hearthstone Money.
That Hearthstone Money. That Hearthstone Money.
And we segue pretty much immediately into, and we'll talk about, actually, let's wait for a segue. It would have been a great segue, but instead, Reuben, you love yourself some D&D. We know it.
I do.
Everybody knows it. Tell us what's going on with the latest crossing of the streams. Right.
So there was this long-standing unwritten rule where Wizards of the Coast didn't cross with Dungeons and Dragons with Magic, and they do now, and it's kind of great. And one of the ways that they do that is with Plane Shift adventures. They came out with a Plane Shift Innistrad adventure. They came out with a Plane Shift Zendikar adventure, and they've dipped their toe a little bit into Plane Shift Ixalan stuff. And their most recent one came out last week or a couple weeks ago, and it's called X Marks the Spot. And it's a pre-packaged adventure in a different way that they've been doing with the other Plane Shift stuff. So what they had done with Innistrad and with Zendikar was, all right, if you're from Nephalia, you have some different racial benefits that can happen, and here's some interesting characters you can run into, and here's a place you can go, and here's a couple. It was a lot more sparse and a lot more like, here's how you can build your whole game around Innistrad. And they did something similar with Zendikar. This is just an adventure. This is just you can sit down and play this by itself for 4 hours and then be done, or have it kick off your kick off a campaign or something. But it comes with pre-made heroes, characters that you can play, It comes with pre-made villains. There's an interesting treasure dynamic that they introduced because it's Ixalan. Basically, if you find stuff, you can basically shuffle up a half dozen magic cards, and based on whichever magic card you draw, you get an equipment of some kind or another. One of them is like the dowsing dagger and the various other things that that appear. Yeah, it's pretty. It's a little bit interesting in the way that they designed that special mechanic just for this one adventure. And all the characters are, there's a vampire cleric who's, from the Five Sacraments, and then there's a green merfolk person, and, you can recognize the magic cards in the adventure. You guys are trying to go get the Hierophant's Chalice, right? From the creepy black flip card tomb, right? Like all that stuff is in, spoiler alert, all that stuff is in this adventure. And I think that's really cool. And it's just another way that D&D has crossed the streams with Magic. And so if you guys are looking for a easy entry point into D&D that's Magic flavored, X marks the spot. If you go to dndbeyond.com, you can just download it for free, I think. Yeah. It's just available. It's called X marks the spot, a plane shift Ixalan adventure. And I'm super happy yet again that they're not afraid to combine their two biggest intellectual properties into one and try to get them to cross over more.
Well, look, I've been in the, making content, talking about Magic stuff for a good long while now, about 11-ish years. And I can tell you, when I first started this, D&D and Magic were two islands, and never, ever shall they meet. They might cross in the night every once in a while, but that's the closest you're ever going to get. The problem was D&D was bad. And D&D was like really bad in 4th edition. It was super awful. And
4th was not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah.
So bad that like an entire company called Pathfinder showed up just to take D&D 3.5 and keep running with it instead of the 4th that they kind of shackled everybody with. And then there's different management at Wizards now, and D&D 5th edition is doing absolutely amazing. Coming the best nonfiction or the best fiction.
Yeah. Xanathar's Guide to Everything was the first Dungeons & Dragons book to reach #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. It reached it in the nonfiction category because it's a rules supplement, not because beholders are real. But the fact that D&D is becoming so much more popular and is having this renaissance, and Magic the Gathering continues to be so popular, it's possible that there could be a D&D Magic crossover in the world of Magic. Like, we could get beholders in Magic. We could get mimics. I mean, we just had a mimic kind of in Unstable with Totally Normal Armchair, or whatever that card was called. Right. And so there's a little bit of that testing the waters kind of stuff, and that's really exciting for me because I love that crap. But yeah, I love that both are succeeding and both aren't afraid of each other.
This is this is just one of those nice. I feel like they keep sort of putting more toes in the water. You know what I mean? Like they kind of touch the water, and it's like, can we do that for like Zendikar? Like, oh, sure, Innistrad. Okay, sure, whatever. And then like Ixalan, we're going to put the whole foot in there this time. It's like eventually, I could definitely see an argument that they would literally make a D&D Magic set. Like, put it in Ravenloft or wherever. Right. Bring those big characters in. Give them Magic cards. Cross those streams 100% and blow people's minds.
Right. I mean, Neverwinter exists. I mean, Neverwinter Nights was a hit outside of both Magic and D&D.
Oh yeah.
Neverwinter exists. Waterdeep is like the main world. I think that a lot of people have played the Lords of Waterdeep board game. So it doesn't just have crossover appeal between these two games. Like, you can certainly pull in geeks from all around and certainly suck them all in. So this is a great way to garner new fans who are right next door.
In the same building.
I know, it's crazy.
Could we talk to each other? I mean, I know that there's one of the feelings that's come across from people who have worked at Wizards, and I've never worked at Wizards. I'm just telling you what I've read, is that it's a very siloed place, that a lot of people, like, you stay in your lane. If you are in, if you're in R&D, you're not in brand. If you're in brand, you're not in marketing or whatever. Like, you are in your zone, and you don't cross over the other zones a lot. And so, the more that collaborates, I think the more they're both going to be successful. They're they're both doing very, very well. D&D doing crazily well. So now it's interesting that D&D almost looks like the better horse in the race than Magic does in some ways, in terms of, what's hot right now. What are people talking about? What are people buying?
I mean, people watch more D&D streams than they watch Magic streams right now. And the fact that Richard Garfield started Magic as a thing to do between games or between battles of Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, it all makes sense. I don't know why this is. It's like, why did Magic take so long to put events in Las Vegas? Why did Magic take so long to, you know, revamp their online presence? Why did Magic take so long, et cetera, et cetera? This is another one of like, once it's happened, people are just like, could have had a V8 and then bonked their head, but it just makes so much sense now that we see it happening. And this X marks the spot is just another step in that direction.
Oh man, I would love to see them go all the way. I'm ready for a Neverwinter block. I mean, just do it. Just go. I mean, let's do it. It's awesome. That said, we're going to pick ourselves a giveaway winner after we first discuss a little bit of the Magic Micsies. And going into
okay, all right.
So the Magic Micsies, you know, they're coming together. And if you go to reddit.com/r/magicmics, you will find a thread sticky to the top that features links to all of our nomination threads. So you too can see who's currently in the running and what categories we're going to have, including a new one this week, or new one this year, being Coverage Moment of the Year. There are so many really special moments that we get to catch. There's so much coverage these days that, you know, you do get those amazing moments that happen, and we want to both recognize them and highlight them. So I'm going to try to do as much work as I can on this to make sure it comes off really nice. Next week, I'm sure we'll be decked right out.
And shout out to Colton White for also fetching us all of the clips related to our coverage moments of the year.
Nice. Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Thank you much. That helps me for trying to, you know, find this stuff. I'm gonna see if I can get the clips actually into sort of like a package where we can look at them and see them all together.
That'd be delightful.
I'm gonna go ask Wizards if that's okay. Cool. Stuff like that. Because again,
yeah, I am. And we'll. Sorry, go ahead.
No, for me again, this to me is something like it's. To me, it's actually really cool. Like last year, it was fun, but this year I'm like, oh man, we kind of have a history here. You know, we have a last year's winner, and we have, you know, the winner of the 2017 Magic Micsie was X, and that to me is really cool.
A couple of returning nominees trying to recapture the old Magic or whatever. I'm as you can see, I'm like on vacation right now, so I actually didn't remember to pack my bow tie. So I am going to need to go shopping.
I have to get a new dress. We dress up for this. This is a legit award show.
Evan promised to wear a tie.
I'm going to go buy a tie. I'll have it by next week.
Okay.
What are the nominees? Are we going to tell them what they are?
There's a few categories.
Okay.
We'll tell them the categories, but the nominees will go
categories. I got my words
on the Reddit. If you want to visit the Reddit, you can submit your own nominees, and then we'll go from there.
And keep it cute, people. I saw some of you in these threads talking crazy. Like, keep it cute, because you know how I am. I'll block you just for existing. So keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Bob Ross Magic account.
Yeah.
No. You and your happy little trees, you get out. You're out. So for the categories, for those who don't know, we're going to have the dumbest WotC move, which is super fun.
The great way to kick things off, yeah.
The smartest WotC move, hashtag of the year, most hated card, most loved card, drama of the year, artwork of the year, format of the year, set of the year, card of the year, and finally, this new category this year is coverage moment of the year. So we have threads for all of those things. So you can see our current nominees. You can go in there and tell us what we missed or what nominees should be on there, or you can go in there and tell us which ones you agree with, which ones you think we actually should choose. Again, reddit.com/r/magicmics. We're actually going to use our subreddit for goodness.
Yep.
I spent some time there today to set up all this stuff, and it's great. And we always appreciate your feedback, and we want to hear what you think, and it helps us make decisions, and that's great. So
thank you.
Next week, Magic Micsies. It's gonna be awesome. All right, so we're gonna move on here to before we get to round the corner to the finisher officially. We're going to go ahead and give away a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com to Mr. Chang Hyun Yi. I hope I pronounced that right, from Anchorage, Alaska.
Nice.
Congrats.
Yeah. So Mr. Yi, I will be contacting you tomorrow via email, and we will get you your gift certificate, and you can buy you something super cool and/or.
Congratulations.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks everybody for participating. Super duper fun. So let's go over here. Let's round the corner to the finisher. Now, The Last Jedi came out last week, and obviously we're still in the pre-agreed upon spoiler embargo period for the most recent installment in the Star Wars saga. And as you know, we here at Magic Mics are well known for keeping the sanctity of spoilers.
Just don't watch the pre-show.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Sanctity of the spoilers.
Sanctity. But just in case you can't protect yourselves from the intense internet chatter already surrounding Episode 8, we thought we might give y'all some fake spoilers that can be safely disseminated on Facebook threads. So what spoiler would you like to share with our viewing audience, Reuben?
Well, personally, I loved the new Star Wars, but definitely thought that it was an odd choice to not have any wars between stars taking place. That'd be like if you named a set Dragon's Maze and didn't have a single dragon show up the whole time. It'd just be crazy.
Not one dragon in the whole thing. That's weird. Aaron.
Well, most of my issues had to do with casting. Specifically that all of the parts were played by their eventual actors, and not one of them was played by Beyonce.
Not one. Come on.
That's the Hornet Queen.
Just a little once is all we need.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a itty. There's a lot of internet backlash against The Last Jedi, and while I certainly, it certainly had its weak points, I think by far the biggest gripe I had was that for some reason the Eldrazi showed up again. What the? We want Star Wars, not Rise of the Eldrazi? They've already ruined the return to Zendikar. Here they are in the Force. Emrakul doing stuff.
Revenge of Innistrad.
Man, it was ridiculous. But that ends another episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you. See you next week for the Micsies, everybody.
Woohoo! Move here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Reuben Bressler, you guys for watching, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Visit our website at MagicMicspodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters, or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv/MagicMics, on Twitter at MagicMicsCast, on Reddit at Reddit.com/r/MagicMics, on Facebook at Facebook.com/MagicMics. Talk to us privately at MagicMicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.